According to God, the white man is the devil. See, I've been in here for a little minute. You know what I'm saying? And I see niggas, they like to talk a lot. They like to claim leadership. They like to claim this and that. You know what I'm saying? They like to be above what they really is and have authority. But they don't really need that authority. They don't really know what to do with that leadership. You understand? You hold hands with this white ass, need to stop and ask you to give a damn what you talk about. Don't give a fuck what you believe, nigga. Gotta stand up and serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. Yeah. See, everybody ain't with all that peace talk. Everybody ain't with all that bygone. Boy, ass need to stop and ask you to prop. It's about to get serious. Boy, when they hit us with dope and kill us with crack, where the fuck with your leaders? I'm curious. He cashed out on your blood, traded you in and bought a new biz. Ask you the prophets, I tell you the scheme. If you don't wake up, you gon' die in your dreams. I say you won't tell you no more. I swear these crackers try to kill us slow. Just spoke to a nigga and fed the up for parole. Because of the COVID, it feel like the host in this world that don't go together. Nowhere is gold in the ghetto. I'm in the city blazing with my niggas. Just told the devil the score never settled. Yeah, see the prophets. I'm tired of these niggas keep talking about, you know, you respect my religion, I respect your religion. Boy, your ass need to stop and ask you the prophets. You know, like we all come together. Cause you know, they say God so loved the world. God so loved the world, and know your ass need to stop and ask you the prophets. Don't give a damn what you talk about. Don't give a fuck what you believe, nigga. Gotta stand up and serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. Yeah. Hey, gentlemen, we don't pray on our knees, nigga. Gotta stand up. You know what I'm saying? Boy, your ass need to stop and ask you to wrong with step. I'm solid for show. To the fake niggas, stay silent. I got it. Let's go. Let's go. I ain't taking no loss. I ain't no token when we got the flow. I ain't no peace. Just play with you. I'ma be loyal to the right arm. Tell him we can't keep it slate. And I can never let bygone be bygone. Got your baby mother on high. Got your baby pass through the fire. Ask you the prophets. That baby soul belong to the Lord. How dare you abort it? If that was a failure, bitch, I can afford it. I prepare slaughter, you bring me my water. Plus your leaders weak, let them lies slip through their teeth. Their ass need to stop and ask you the prophets.
That's just the reality, Christians. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. I know your pastor lied to you every Sunday for 30 years, but that's what the church is for, lying. That's why they exist, to lie the money out of your pockets.
Boy, your ass need to stop and ask you to give a damn what you talk about. Don't give a fuck what you believe, nigga. Gotta stand up and serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. Gotta stand up and serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga.
Hey, Shalom Israel. Yabashim Yashai Barakathum to the brothers. Yawashim Thumb Bashim Yashai to the sisters. I'm Priest Officer Parak, holding down the Sabbath service for the ISUPK out of Arizona. All right. If you're watching online, you can see our class location, which is 12416 North 28th Drive. All right. We're in Phoenix, of course, right off the corner of 28th Drive and Cactus. All right. We're in suite number 4. Our class schedule is every Tuesday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. And then, of course, our Sabbath services every Saturday, of course, on every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. All right. So today, what we'll be talking about is what advantage had the Jew. All right. That's the title of today's class. We got a lot to go over. Really, what we're going to be covering is, something that I like to talk about a lot, which is what do we get for our service to the Most High? We're going to go into some history today. We're going to find out some of the things that the Most High has done for us because he chose us as his holy nation. You understand? So we're going to be in Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, and then we're going to kind of move around. We're going to kind of, we're going to get some examples of what the Most High is willing to do for the children of Israel. And that's, once again, what advantage has a Jew, right? Um, so without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. All right, so imagine which means to stand. Dumb, which means to turn and face the east. All right, we're gonna begin with the Lord's Prayer. Beginning with the Hebrew. Awanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Taba'ah, Artazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim, Nathalanawa, Lakam, Kal Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kal Wathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kal Wathinawa, Wala'a, Tabaya Manasai 1, Abal, Hawashanawa, Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Wathapa Ra, I will love you. In the English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. All right, we're going to read the Hakat, or the power, in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Babakushai, Nathalanawa, Hakat, Hakat Larapa'ah, Kal Maka'alim, Wakal Madawa, Hakat Latahar, Hamat Zariah, Hakat, Lakwayam, Hamathim, Hakat, Awakawa, Hatama Alim, Agar Shan, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Wadaman. In English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. All right, we're going to read Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah, Ayanya, Ahaharyam, Ma'ayan, Yaba'ah, Izarya, Ma'im, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Wa'arataza, Ayathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Ayanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashan, Shamar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yah, Yaminka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'ah, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashamar, Athnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza Athka, Wabab, Wa'aka, Ma'itha, Wa'ai, Awalam. Psalms 121 in the English. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yasha'Allah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Psalms the 83rd chapter, beginning with the Hebrew. Alahayah, Al-Dama Yalakah, Al-Thakarash, Al-Thashakwat, Al Kayahana, Awa Yabika, Yahamaya 1, Ra'ash, Al-Imaka, Ya'ira Yumwa, Sawadah, Wayatha, Ya'itazawa, Altazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakaki Dum, Magalia, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yasha'ala, Iwada, Kaya, Nawaitazawa, Laba, Yakadwa, Auyaka, Barya, Yakarathwa, Ahaya, Adawam, Washama Aliyah, Mawa'aba, Wagarya, Gabal, Wyma1, Wymalak, Palashah, I'm Yeshabya, Tazawar, Gam Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Hayawa, Zarwai, Labunya Lawat, Salah, Ashalaham, Kamadian, Kasaya, Sara'ah, Kayabya, Wanakal, Kwayashwan, Nashamadwa, Ba'ayan, Da'ara, Hayawa, Daman, La'adama, Shaithamwa, Nada, Yamawa, Ka'ira, Kaza'aba, Kazabak, Katazal, Mana'ai, Kal, Nasai Kamwa, Asharwa, Slaki, Ashar, Amarwa, Narasha, Lanawa, Ath, Na'awath, Alahayim, Alahaya, Shai Thumbwood, Kagogala, Kakwash, Napanya Raka, Ka'ash, Taba'ira, Ya'ira, Wakala Haba, Falahat, Harayam, Khan, Tharadapma, Basa'iraka, Wapasa, Wapathka, Tabalam, Mala'a, Panyahum, Kuala One, Webakwashwa, Shamka, Yahawah, Yabashwa, Webahawa, Aya, Wekaparwa, Waya Abadwa, Waya Da'aiwa, Kaya Athab, Shamka, Yahawah, Labadka, Ayawan, Alka, Al-Ratza. All right. We're going to read Psalms 83rd chapter in English. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Keep not thou silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
And be not still, O God.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
Thine enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden
And
ones.
consulted against thy hidden.
They have said,
Come,
and let us cut them off from being a nation.
and let us cut them off from being a nation.
That the name of Yasha'Allah
That the name of Yahshua
shall be no more in remembrance.
shall be no more remembered.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
They have consulted together with one consent.
They are confederate against
They
thee.
are confederate against
The
thee.
tabernacles of Edom,
The tabernacle of Edom,
and the Ishmaelites,
and the Ishmaelites
of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre.
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
Assur also is joined with them.
Assur also is joined with them.
They have opened the children of Lot.
They have opened the children of Lot.
Salah.
Salah.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
As to Sisera,
As to Sisera.
as to Jabin,
As to Jabin.
at the brook of
At
Kasan,
the brook of the sun.
which perished that endured.
Which perished that endured.
They became as dung for the earth.
They became as dung for the earth.
Made their nobles like a red,
Made their nobles like a red.
and like Zeel.
And like the
Yea, all their princes as Abba,
all their princes as Sabbath.
and as Zalmunna,
And as Amunah.
who said,
Who said,
let us take to ourselves
let us take to ourselves
the houses of Yahweh
the houses of Yahweh
in possession.
possession.
Oh my God,
Oh my God.
make them like a wheel,
Make them like a wheel.
as the stubble before the wind,
As the stubble before the wind.
as the fire burneth the wood,
As the fire burneth the wood.
and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire.
And as the flames set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them with thy
So
tempest,
persecute them with thy temper.
and make them afraid with thy
And
storm.
make them afraid with thy sword.
Fill their faces with shame,
Fill their faces with shame.
that they may seek thy name.
That they may see thy name.
O Yahweh,
O Yahweh.
let them be confounded in trouble forever.
Let them be confounded in trouble forever.
Yea,
Yea.
let them be put to shame and perish,
Let them be put to shame and perish.
that men may know that thou,
And men may know that thou,
whose name alone
whose name alone
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
art the most high over all the earth.
art the most high over all the earth.
All right, we're going to read the blessings in Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh,
Barakatah Yahweh.
Wa Yahweh Shai,
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Ma'aka Allah,
Wa Ma'aka
Wa Lahayim,
Wa Lahayim.
Wa Tazab Ya'ah,
Wa Tazab Ya'ah.
Allah Wap Yahana,
Wa Wab Yahana.
Hala Wapyam,
Wa Wab.
Hasaranyo,
Hasaranyo.
Akwatazayanyo,
Wa Tazayim.
Akaya Yayo,
Wa
Wa Hagwathim,
Wa Hagwathim.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai,
Wa Hashem Yahweh Shai.
the Wadaman.
Wa Raman.
In the English, bless you Yahweh,
Bless you, Yahweh.
and Yahweh Shai,
And Yahweh Shai.
and Michael,
And Michael.
and the angels,
And the angels.
commanding General Yohanan,
Commanding General Yohanan.
the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai,
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
thank you, so be it.
Thank you, so be it.
All right, sorry while you're shopping, we can be seated.
With the tour, I'll step out and just grab the family book.
Yeah, what you mean, like at the store?
Get the family. Actually, get some air movement.
Yeah. Check the Salaki, I can give me 1 second. Check the what's that thing say? Huh?
Another thing that happened is with the monsoon, it could be blocking the condenser fan.
Yeah.
Everything's probably clogged.
Here's what I need you to do. That's fine if you need to run and do that, but All right, Salakia. So we're going to be in Deuteronomy. All right, I believe the 4th chapter. And we're going to read 7 verses in the Hebrew. So Deuteronomy 4. And we're going to read verses 5 through 11. 1 second to get there. We're going to read that in the Hebrew first. We'll read it in English. Break it on down. Where we at? All right, so verses 5 through 11. So we're reading in Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, verse 5. Ra'ah, Lamad Thaya, Kakam, Kakwayam, Wamashapatyam, Ka'ashar, Tazawanya, Yahweh, Alahaya, La'aishawath, Khan, Bakorab, Ha'arataza, Ashar, Atham, Ba'ayam, Shema, Larashatha, verse 6, Washamartham, Wa'aishayatham, Kaya, Awa, Kakam, Mathkam, Wabayanakam, La'ayanya, Ha'aimyam, Ashar, Yashamai, it's like a Yashamai one, Ath, Kal, Hakakoyam, Ha'ala, Wa'amar Wa, Raka, Aim, Kakam, Wanab, it's like a Wanab one, it's like a Wanab one, Haga, it's like a Hagoya, Hagadawa, it's like a Hazaha, verse 7, Kaya, Maya, Goya, Gadawa, Ashar, Lawa, Alahayim, Korabium, Ayawa, Kayahawa, it's like Alahayanawa, Bakal, Kora 1, Aliyawa, verse 8, it's like it, Wamya, Goya, Gadawa, Ashar, Loya, it's like it, Lawa, it's like it, Hakwayam, Umashapayam, Tazadaya, it's like it, Tazadayak Ma, Kakal, Hatha, it's like it, Hathara, Hazaath, Ashar, Anakim, it's like Anakim, Nathan, Lapanya Kam, Hayawam, verse 9, Rakah, Rakwa, it's like Hashamar, Lakah, Washamar, Napashak, Ma'ad, Pan, Tashika, Ath, Adabaryam, Ashar, Ra'awa, it's like Ayan Yaka, Wapan, Malababka, Kal, Yamya, Kayak, it's like Wahadai Thumb, it's like Labanyaka, Walabanya, Banyakam, verse 10, Yawam, Ashar, Imadath, Lapanya, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Bakarab, Ba'amar, Yahweh, Alya, Hakwahal, Laya, Ath, Ha'im, it's like Wa'ashamai, it's like Wa'ashamai Ma, Ath, Debarya, Ashar, it's like Yalamad, it's like Yalamad 1, Laya Ra'ah, Athia, Kal, Hayamyum, Ashar, Ham, Hayayam, Al, Ha'adamah, Wa'ath, Banyahum, Yalamadwan, verse 11. It's the last verse. Uh, Wathakurab 1, Watha'imad 1, Thakath, Hahar, Wahahar by it's like a Ba'ira, Ba'ash, Id, Laba, Hasham Yum, Kashak, it's like Ainun, Wa'ira Paul. All right, so that was verses 5 through 11. We're going to read those same verses in the English. All right. All right, so we're going to read verses 5 through 11. So we'll be in the book of Deuteronomy. We'll be in the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, beginning at the 5th verse, which reads, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments." Right. So now this is Moses speaking. Moses is speaking, and Moses was the one that delivered the law. That's why people call it the law of Moses, because Moses delivered the law. But Moses is going to explain where he got this law from. This isn't something that Moses just came up with in his head, right? This is something that the Lord gave to Moses to deliver to the children of Israel. So it says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God hath commanded me." That ye should do. So now he said, even as the Lord my God have commanded me. These are the commandments that we have received from Moses, because the Lord gave these commandments to Moses to give to us, right? And that includes all of the commandments that most people know. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not commit adultery, things like that, right? But it also includes the other commandments, right? Commandments that talk about, theft, and how you repay debt and things like that. Not charging your brother usury, not charging your brother interest, right? All of those different commandments, the hundreds of commandments that you find in this Bible, it includes those too, right? If we keep going, it says that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it, right? So these were the commandments that was given to the children of Israel on our way out of the exodus of Egypt, on our way to possess the land of Israel that the Most High was going to give unto us, right? Verse 6 says, "Keep therefore and do them." So it's talking about the commandments. Keep the commandments and do the commandments, right? It says, "For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations." So what we have to understand about the law, statutes, and commandments is that, remember, that today's whole class is about what? What advantage then hath the Jew? What is it? What is the advantage of us being Israelites and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High? Well, here's part of it, right? And we're going to read so much more than this, but here's part of the advantage that we receive for being Israelites and keeping the commandments, right? It says, "This is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people," right? Being an Israelite and keeping the commandments of God gives us wisdom and gives us understanding that the other nations don't have. So that's the advantage that we have over the other nations. The other nations don't have laws and statutes like us. A lot of people try to argue that Kemet, right? In Egypt, they had the 42 negative confessions, right? And they had the laws of Ma'at and things like that. They don't have now. They have the negative confessions is basically for the Cometians or the people of Kemet, right? Is basically saying when you die and you meet whatever god they serve when you die, you have to be able to confess, "I have never killed, I have never stolen," things like that, right? And what's funny about that is those are the basic. I mean, everybody has sort of a small moral compass that evolves around that, right? Things that are obviously bad. But what about the way that you treat your brother? That's not in their law. That's not in anybody's law, right? The way that you speak to one another, right? What's the law for repaying debt and being fair and things like that? They don't have those laws, but we do as Israel. And that's part of the advantage that we have for being Israelites. Like, I mean, it might sound vain and crazy, but we're better and we have more advantage than any other nation or over every other nation. Why? Because of just simply who we are. Because the Most High chose us. But then when you start to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, you start to realize that this is what gives you the advantage over the other nations, right? So it says, "This is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of all the nations, which shall hear these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for?" Right? The Most High is in all things that we call upon him for, but no other nation gets to utilize that advantage. No other nation gets to call on the Most High, right? And that's, you find that all throughout the Bible. There's no other nation that gets the advantage that we have to be able to call on the one and true and only God, right? If we keep going, it says, verse 8, "And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?" Think of any other nation. There's no other nation that has righteous statutes and commandments. Think about America. America says you can't kill, right? That's what they say. But their statutes on that law is absolutely out of proportion. Because why? Because a police officer can kill a black man and get off free, right? So that law is not righteous, right? You can get away with rape in this place, right? That I forget the cat's name, the cat, some white boy that raped another white woman in some alley somewhere, and he got probation. Like, there's no righteousness in the law of America, but in the law of the Bible, don't matter what the case is, if it wasn't in self-defense, it's murder. And that means you get put to death for that. Don't matter what the case is, if you rape a woman, that's death. It's a death penalty offense. That's a righteous law, right? Um, so verse 9 says this. It says, "Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen." So now this is where we're going to get into some things and kind of get some examples, right? Because understanding the advantage that we have as Israelites is extremely important, right? Otherwise, what's the point of keeping the laws and the statutes and the commandments? What's the point of that, right? There has to be a reason why we have to make sure that we keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. There has to be a reason for it. Otherwise, we're doing this whole thing in vain. I'm teaching this class in vain. You understand? You making sure you figure out what you eating is right and what you can't eat and things like that. That's all in vain, right? So we have to figure out why we're doing these things. So now Moses just said, make sure that you keep your soul diligently. Understand why you're doing what you're doing. It says, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen. And it goes on to say, unless they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. Let's before we read the excerpt out of the book of Judith, I want to get the title of the class real quick. All right, which is Romans the 3rd chapter. I just want to read that real quick, and then we'll move on. All right, so this is Romans the 3rd chapter. We're going to begin at the first verse. And it reads, "What advantage then hath the Jew?" So that's where I got the title of this class from. The title of this class is "What Advantage Hath the Jew?" So we're going to find out what it means, or it's like it, what the advantage is for us to be Israelites that keep the law, statutes, and commandments. It says, "Or what profit is there of circumcision?" Right? Circumcision is just representative of keeping the law, right? That's part of the law, that's circumcision, right? So what profit is there? What do we get for serving the Most High? Verse 2 says, "Much everywhere." So us keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and being Israelites, it profits us every way that you can imagine. It says chiefly, now mainly, right? Because that unto them were committed the oracles of the Most High. What's the oracles? An oracle represents, think about glasses, right? Think about, matter of fact, what I'll do for y'all is I'll put it on the screen. I'll get y'all the definition of an oracle, right? Then I'll put it into perspective for you. Hey, Shy, grab me that Bible dictionary over there. I want to show y'all something because this is extremely important in understanding what the advantage we have over all the other nations. All right. I tried to find it online, but I don't think they have this online. So, Oracle. All right. So when you go into the Strong's, it's like it. When you go into the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, an oracle is this. It says, utterance of prophecy. It's like an utterance of prophecy translated as burden. Right. Um, so it's the spirit of prophecy. It's the spirit of being able to understand things that the other nations can't. Right. Um, and that's what is so important for us being able to understand things that the other nations can't, right? Even when you they asked him, he said, why do you speak in parables? Why do you speak in allegories? Everybody be able to understand, and so we could teach our people these things, right? And so that's what the advantage is that the Jews have, right? Or the Israelites, right? That we're able to understand these prophecies the way no other nation can, all right? And of course, that means that we're the ones that get the promise, right? We're the ones that can understand these things, right? So now we're gonna read a little excerpt out of the book of Judith. We're going to be in the fifth chapter of Judith. All right. And this is going to give a little bit of history. What I like about this chapter and what's being said here um, is that it kind of gives a whole overview, right, of everything that the Most High has done with us because we have the advantage. All right. So we're going to be in Judith, the fifth chapter in the Apocrypha. We're going to start at the fifth verse. All right. Uh, Verse 5 says, Then said Achor, the captain of all the sons of Ammon. So this was a captain over the Ammonites. The Ammonites were constantly at battle with us, at war with the Israelites. All right. And what he's doing, what Achor is doing, is he's giving his king a rundown of the Israelites, because any wise army should understand their enemy. They should understand who they're up against, right? Just like we should understand the enemy that we're up against, the other nations understand that they should understand who they're up against when they come up against us, right? And the God that we serve. And that's what's going to happen right now. Achor is going to advise his king on the people that he's about to go up against, right? So it says, Then said Achor, the captain of all of the sons of Ammon, let my Lord now hear a word from the mouth of thy servant, and I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people which dwelleth near thee, and inhabited the hill countries. And there shall no lie come out of the mouth of thy servant. So he's saying, I'm about to tell you about these people. I'm about to tell you about these people that you want to go up against, right? This people are descended of the Chaldeans. If you go all the way back, now this is a lot of history, right? Because you're going all the way back into the time of Abraham, and even before Abraham, where Abraham's people dwelt. It says that they descended of the Chaldeans. That's Abraham's time, and they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia, because they would not follow the gods of their fathers, which were in the land of Chaldea. So Abraham, if you know anything about the history of Abraham, right? Abraham was approached by the Most High God to serve the Most High Yahweh, right? Because all of Abraham and his family, they were serving other gods. All of the gods of the Chaldeans, all of the different gods, which is, there were so many gods that people were serving at this time, right? Um, but Abraham was approached by the Most High to go and serve the Most High, leave his father, right? We went over this a little bit on Wednesday, right? Abraham was approached by the Most High to leave his father and all his family and take his wife and his children and move to a land that the Most High set aside for him, right? Verse 8 says, For they left the way of their ancestors, because Abraham and his forefathers, they served other gods, but they left that, right? And worshiped the God of heaven, which is the Most High, right? The God whom they knew, so they cast them out from the face of their gods, right? They left their old gods, right? And fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days. Then their God commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned and to go into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt, and were increased. It's like and were increased with gold and silver and with very much cattle. Right? Abraham was blessed. Y'all understand when you go into the book of Genesis, we'll find that Abraham was blessed. Right? Um, it says, but when a famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down into Egypt. When you read the book of Exodus, you'll find that Jacob, right, and Jacob and his sons were plagued with a famine, while Joseph, which is one of the sons of Jacob, was in Egypt, and he was, basically, he was the right hand man to Pharaoh. He had a lot of power, right? And so this is kind of going over the fact that Jacob and the rest of his sons was going to flee to Egypt for succor, right? For them to get some help, for them to have the food and the things that they needed, right? Um, And it says, and they sojourned there while they were nourished and became there a great multitude, so that one could not number their nation. Right? Um, we just like the Most High promised Abraham that we would be as plenteous as the sands of the sea. Right? That's how plenteous we became. We became a mighty and large nation. Right? And that was part of the promise that the Most High gave unto Abraham. It says, therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them and dealt subtly with them, in brick, and made them slaves, right? Because we became such a great nation that if we had wanted to, we would have been able to overtake the Egyptians because there were so many of us, right? And we were growing so fast because black people love to have babies. That's just the truth. Make babies all the damn time, right? And so when you go into the book of Exodus, you'll find the decree that Pharaoh had made to say, listen, we're gonna kill all of the males of Israel, all of the males that are born of Israel. We're gonna kill them, so that way Israel will become extinct. That's how you commit genocide on a nation: is you take away all the men, so the seed line goes away, right? That bloodline goes away. All right, and that was the crafty counsel that Pharaoh had tried to take against us. And so remember, this is all, and I'm kind of going through it fast because we got a lot to cover. But this is all of the things that happened. This cat that's informing this Ammonite king about the children of Israel, he went all the way back before Abraham, right? And now we have Moses, right? In the time of our slavery, right? Verse 12 says, and they cried unto their God, and he smote all the land of Egypt. When you go back into the book of Exodus, you find that we cried unto the Most High, and he had respect unto our cry. He had respect unto us because we cried out and pled with the Most High, right? And so he started to begin to smite Egypt with the plagues. We all know about the 10 plagues of Egypt, right? If we go on, it says, so the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. But Pharaoh said, all right, I'm done with these plagues. I'm done getting my economy destroyed and my land destroyed. Y'all get the hell out of here because your God is causing too many problems, right? If we keep going, it says, verse 13, and God dried the Red Sea before them and brought them to Mount Sinai and Cade's barn, right? And cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness, right? So now this is talking about the fact that the Most High helped us in the exodus out of Egypt. And this all is the advantage that we have because the Most High never did this for any other nation, never saved any other nation out of bondage, never did any of these things for any other nation, right? But he did it for us because that's the advantage that we have as Israelites. All right, so then when we keep going, it says, so they dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and they destroyed by their strength all of them in Esbon. And passing over the Jordan, they possessed all the hill and country. When you go into the law, you'll find some of the things that we ended up having to do, right? We had to fight against these nations and take their land. We came up against the Amorites so hard that it was ridiculous with the amount of people that we had in our army as Israel and the amount of people that the Amorites had. It should have been a clean sweep. The Amorites should have took us out, but they couldn't because the Lord was with us, and that's part of the advantage that we have, right? If we keep going, it says, verse 16, and they cast forth before them the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, and the Sishemite, and all the Girgashites. right? So these are all the different nations that we had to come up against, right? When you go into the Old Testament, these names are a little bit different, but it's still talking about the same nations, all right? And it says, and they dwelt, it's like, and they dwelt in that country many days, right? Verse 17, and while they sinned not before their God, they prospered, because the God that hateth iniquity was with them. So when we didn't sin against the Most High, when we kept the law, statutes, and commandments, the Most High was with us. But we keep reading, it says, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore. So when the Most High wasn't with us, when you go into the book of Judges and you see the things that we did, it's like in the book of Joshua, right? And you see when we sinned against the Most High would allow the other nations to destroy us, allow the other nations to put us to death because we weren't keeping the law. We weren't keeping our end of the covenant, right? But the part that I really want to focus on is the fact that when the Most High was with us was when we were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Okay, let's see. So now let's read a little bit more, right? Verse 19 says, but now they are returned to their God. So at the time that he's advising this Ammonite king about what to do with the children of Israel, he's saying, but right now they're returned to their God. So remember, he just told this king, listen, if you, when these people are dealing righteously and they're doing what their God said to do, everything is fine with them and the Lord is on their side and nobody can come up against them. So that's what he's telling them. He's saying they're returned to their God right now, and they're come up from places where they were scattered and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. So now he's about to give his king some counsel on how to deal with us, because we just went through all of that history, right? A lot of the major history that you find in Israel, right? And now he's about to give his king some counsel. He says, now, therefore, my Lord and governor, if there be any error in this people and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin. Because we just read what? When we weren't keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, the Lord was against us. And all the nations, Salaki for this camera, all the nations could come up against us anytime they wanted to because we weren't keeping the law, right? This camera's sensitive, that cord. So he's saying if they're sinning against the Most High, that's the time to attack us. That's the time to attack the children of Israel when we sin. Why? Because we don't have our protection, right? But verse 21 says, but if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them and their God be for them, and we become a reproach before all the world. One thing we have to understand is the advantage that we have is if we keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, we will be prosperous, and no nation will be able to come up against us like they are right now, right? I want to get another precept real quick. Let's get Psalms real quick. We get Psalms the 147th chapter. So we're going to be in Psalms 147 chapter, and I want to show y'all something about the advantage that we have over the other nations. Now, remember what I just said. Us keeping the law and being Israelites, of course, we're going to read right now that the law wasn't given to the other nations. So us keeping the law gives us an advantage over all the other nations. Why? Because when we keep the law, there's no nation that can come up against us. We're going to read Psalms 147 and 19. It says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. So we're the ones that receive the law. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the ones that receive the law of the Most High. He only deals with us, right? And I say only because when we read this next verse, it'll be solidified, right? He have not so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. So none of the other nations have received the law of the Most High. And the only way that you can receive protection from the Most High is if you keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. So if the other nations don't have those laws, statutes, and commandments, that means that they can't get the protection that we can, right? So that's where our protection lies. Our protection lies in following our God, right? I just wanted to read that real quick before we go into Exodus, all right? So let's go into the book of Exodus. and we're going to be in Exodus, the 31st chapter. Um, so we're going to start. Hey, can you check what that thermostat says, please? Can you check what that thermostat says? What's at the top there? It's crazy. Um, all right, so we're going to be in Exodus, the 31st chapter. All right. All right, so we'll be in Exodus, the 31st chapter. We're going to start at the 13th verse. All right. We're going to talk a little bit more about the advantage that we have. Um, you, right? That's part of the covenant. All right, so lucky. It's an outlet over there. Um, this one you can't even use. You can if you want. I don't think is one over there. It's behind the couch. Okay. Yeah, make sure you when you unplug the fan and not the computer. Um, so lucky. Got a couple things going on over here. So now, I'll read verse 13 again. Once again, we're in Exodus, the 31st chapter, in verse 13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath shall ye keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. Right? We know, we know that the Most High is with us because he gave us this law. That's us keeping the Sabbath like we are right now, no matter what, might I add. It's a lock. We're keeping the Sabbath no matter what right now. It's a lock. Right? Is a sign that the Most High is with us, right? And that's part of that covenant that was delivered unto the Israelites, because us keeping that end of the covenant means that the Lord will have our back, right? The same way that he had our back when we came against the Amorites and all the other nations, when we came up against the Perizzites and the Girgashites, right? We came up against them to take our land. And we were far fewer in number than all those nations. But the Lord was still with us because we were doing what he said. He gave us these laws, statutes, and commandments. That's part of the advantage that we have, right? Verse 14 says, Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is unto you. Everyone that defileth shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein shall be cut off from among his people. So now this is the other side, right? We have an advantage as Israelites, but only, what's wrong? I don't have a third one, huh? The third prong? Yeah, it's all good. Um, you can take one of those out if you need. Take one of those out and you can use that outlet, right? Now there's the other side to this, right? Because we only have the advantage of the Most High when we keep the law, statutes, and commandments. That's why when it said in the book of Romans, the 3rd chapter, in the 2nd verse, we are chiefly it's like we have the advantage chiefly because the oracles of God were committed unto us. Them oracles having that advantage. But we just read right here, if we defile the Most High's law, if we defile the Lord's Sabbath, then we're going to death. It says surely, right? We saw in Numbers the 15th chapter that a brother got put to death for working on the Sabbath day. Put to death. That don't seem like much of an advantage. Why? Because he wasn't keeping his end of the covenant, right? He wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing, right? So let's move on, right? We're going to read the book of Luke, the first chapter. Being I don't know if they're gonna be able to hear you out with these fans, Salaki. So I'll read it. You said what? Okay, yeah, well, shit. Okay, what's that crazy? I forgot who I was talking to for a second. Salaki. All right, so let's read Luke, the first chapter, the 68th verse.
The book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people.
Right. So the Most High has visited and redeemed who? His people, right? He's talking about the Israelites. We'll read that in just a second, right? This is part of that we have because no other nation has a God that will redeem them out of any condition they're in. There's no other God that's going to take white people out of any condition that they might be in. You know, homeless white people are homeless for a reason. You understand? You know, I seen them. I seen them people over there in Asia living in them damn. They like big ass project buildings. It's kind of crazy. There's no God that's ever going to redeem them out of that, right? But the projects that we as black people in America live in, there is a God that's going to redeem us out of that. There's a God who's going to take us out of the condition that we're in. And we're the only nation that has the true and living God on our side, right? Keep going.
Verse 69. And hath raised up an horn of salvation for us.
For who?
Us.
This is what's excellent about the Most High. The Most High has raised up Christ to be a horn of salvation for us, not for anybody else. As bad of a condition as you might see some white people in, some Asians, some of these Arabs. I mean, them Arabs got it bad, especially a lot of the Muslim Arabs that be beating their wives, like the Quran says is okay to do. Them women got it bad. But there's nobody that deserves salvation more than the children of Israel. And that's why we are the ones that receive Christ. Christ didn't die for them, died for us, right? And so with that being the case, that means what? That means that the Lord is on our side, right? Keep going.
In the house of his servant David.
Go ahead.
Verse 70.
It's like, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Give me 1 second, y'all. All right, Shalaki, y'all. So we'll just keep on reading, right? Verse 70 says, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, right? Once again, who are the Lord's prophets? The children of Israel. When you read right now at the beginning of this class, right? Romans the 3rd chapter about those oracles of God, that's the understanding of prophecy. Well, that prophecy talks about the salvation of the children of Israel, right? Which have been since the world began. That we should be saved from our enemies, right? That's salvation. That's all it is. That's what salvation is. Salvation that the Christian church talks about, and they think that salvation is what? Being saved from sin. But true salvation is us being saved from our enemies. That's the definition. If you want somebody to understand what salvation is or the definition of salvation, take them to Luke, the 1st chapter, and the 71st verse, right? That's the salvation. And that can only be applied to the Israelites. Why? Because we just read that the Most High has saved his people, right? Has visited and redeemed his people, right? If we keep reading, right, verse 72 says, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers. The mercy that was promised to Abraham was what? That our nation would be, or his seed would be as the sands of the sea. That we would prosper. That we would be the one that's on top, right? Those blessings in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, that was given to our forefathers. Moses delivered those prophecies to our forefathers directly. And the Lord is going to redeem us so we can fulfill those prophecies of being blessed. So we can be on top and the other nations on bottom for a change, right? And to remember his holy covenant. Once again, the covenant of the Most High is that he will be our protector. And we'll read that in just a second. That he will be our protector and he won't deal with the other nations, right? We'll be on top, the other nations will be on bottom, right? He'll give us that rulership. The verse, let me see. Verse 73 says, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham. You got to touch it? All right, no sweat. Right, the oath that he swore to our father Abraham, once again, the same thing that I've just said. That's exactly what the truth is. The Most High made that covenant with Abraham, and it passes down through all his seed, right? Verse 74 says that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, there goes that salvation again, right? Being saved from our enemies, right? Delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. All right. That's part of the salvation that we receive. And only the Israelites can receive that salvation.
Right.
Only us. Nobody else. And the reason why is because the Lord made that covenant with Abraham. He made that covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, down onto the 12 tribes of Israel, and of course their offspring as well. So now we're going to go back into the book of Judith. All right, we're going to get the 9th chapter this time. So now we're going to get a prayer from Judith. Judith was a bad woman. I mean, she was a mighty servant of the Most High. For a woman, she's a model woman. You understand? She is what every sister should model herself after, just like Esther. You understand? And just like Ruth and a lot of these Israelite sisters that you find in the Bible, right? A lot of people try to say that the Bible is a misogynistic book. But in all actuality, I think this book gives more reverence to women than any other book could, than any other spiritual book could. Because the Quran tell you to beat your woman if she's upset. Right. If she's doing something that's dishonorable, first you stop having sex with her. You just don't have sex with her anymore, and then you beat her ass. That's what the Quran says, right? So that's a misogynistic book. I hate that term, but that's you want to go by definition. The Quran in Islam is misogynistic, but the Bible is a book that's for men and for women. And we're going to read about a righteous sister, the sister named Judith, which was a very righteous sister. And this is a prayer that she prayed to the Most High. And Judith understood the advantage that a Jew has. You understand? What's up? With the heat, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, the fans definitely not. That's yeah. We're just gonna get through this, and we're gonna get the prayers, and yeah. My ear is jammed up. That's how bad it is. All right. All right. So we're gonna read Judith the 9th chapter. All right. Let's read verse 12. Start at verse 12. Well, just for time's sake, God, because we're gonna have to close out soon. So let's have to be a little bit shorter. Let's do 14. Yeah. Judith 9 and 14. Yeah.
This is the book of Judith, chapter 9, verse 14.
This is part of the prayer that Judith was praying to the Most High. Go ahead.
And make every nation and tribe to acknowledge that thou art the God of all power and might.
This is the way a righteous woman pleads with the Most High. Prays to the Most High. She's pleading what she said. What? She said, make every nation and tribe to acknowledge that thou art the God of all power and might. Where does it sound familiar at? Didn't David pray the same prayer? Then men may know that thou art, and thou whose name alone is Yahweh, art the Most High over all the earth.
That's right.
Right? Sisters can be mighty in this sense too. She prayed this prayer, and it's so much similar to David's prayer, right? Because that's a righteous prayer. This is a righteous sister. But I'm going to show you what she understood about her advantage. She's praying to the Most High with confidence. That's how everybody should pray to the Most High, is with confidence. Don't listen. I understand being humble in these things. You should be humble in the sight of the Most High. But what you can't be is a punk when you come to the Most High. But the way Christians pray, they just get on their knees and they cry and this, that, and the third. Damn all of that. This sister prayed righteously just like David prayed righteously. When we find these prayers in the Bible, they are confident prayers. We're confident in our God. You understand? And the only way that you can truly be confident in your God is if you know you're doing what your God told you to do, what your God requires of you. You can't be confident in your God if you know that he said, don't do this. but you're doing it. You understand? Well, Judith was doing exactly what the Most High said. So she had confidence in praying to her God. She said, make every nation and tribe to acknowledge that thou art the God of all power and might, and that there is none other that protecteth the house of Israel but thou. Like Israel doesn't have another protector. Barack Obama can't save us. Joe Biden can't save us. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, none of these people could save us. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, none of them could save us, right? Why? Because it's only the Most High that protect the people of Israel, and nobody but the Most High. And Judith understood that, right? And that's part of the advantage that we have, because no other nation can call upon a God that is real and that can truly save them, right? We get Psalms the 91st chapter. I'm trying to move through this quick, y'all. Forgive me. Y'all taking me to council after this, huh? Y'all taking me to council? That's all right. Well, you know. I'll tell you like this. Think about the temple in times past. You know, it get hot in Jerusalem. I don't know if they had AC 2,000 years ago. So like, I'm saying. Good. It's what? Psalms the 91st chapter. You know what? Let me I'm gonna speed it up and move. Let me see. Okay. I'm gonna skip that. Read Psalms 91 on your own. It talks about the salvation of the Israelites, right? And us being able to call upon our God. I'm gonna read this last precept, y'all. All right. I know this is going to be a little bit short. Class will be a little bit short today. Read Matthew the 19th chapter. Everything good up? No? All right, we're going to read this last precept. All right, which is Matthew the 19th chapter, the 25th verse, which says, when his disciples had heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, who then can be saved? So the disciples is asking Christ, who can be saved, right? Now we're going to skip down just for time's sake and go to the 28th verse, right? It says, Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So how do we get on the Most High's good side, right? How do we receive the salvation? Well, we're going to have to do what Christ said and what the Most High said, right? And we're going to have to follow Christ, because Christ followed the Most High. And he gave us the spirit of the law. He told us what to do and what not to do. You understand? And that's part of what a lot of people don't get. A lot of people don't understand, right? The true path to salvation, right? For us to obtain the advantage that we have, just because we Israelites don't mean we get saved. Don't the scriptures say all they that are of Israel? It's like all they that are Israel are not of Israel. I believe I might be quoting that wrong, right? They are not all Israel that are of Israel. I believe that's more of an accurate quotation. Why? Because just because you are an Israelite don't mean that you're going to receive the salvation that these brothers and sisters are putting in this hard work to serve the Most High, right? The cat that rejects the Most High doesn't receive the salvation that the Israelites that are putting in this work and are, keeping the commandments and the laws and the statutes and things like that. All right. So that advantage, is what we receive by doing the commandments, right? Salaki, y'all. I wish I was able to make this, to kind of get more of the precepts on this, but we are going to have to close out. All right. So with that being said, go ahead and Amajim, which means to stand. Panyagwadam, which means to stand and face the east. It's like to face the east. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Avanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Wadash, Ayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Ayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Ayah, Ashamayim, Athalanawa, Nakam, Kal Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kal Wathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kal Wathinawa, Wala'ah, Tabayanawa, Manasah 1, Abal, Hawashanawa, Mayan, Raikaya, Waka, Almalakwa, Wa'ala, Watha Parath, I will love you. Amen. In English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. Yakak, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Baba Kushai, Nathalanawa Hakak, Hakat Larapa'ah, Kal Maka'ala, Wakal Madawa, Hakat Latahar, Hamatazariah, Hakat Lakwayam, Hamathium, Hakat Arakawa, Hatama'ala, Lagar Shan, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the Wadaman. The power in English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai. Please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahushai, thank you, so be it. Psalms 121 in the Hebrew, Asha'ah, Ayanya, it's like Ahaharya, Ma'ayan, Yaba'ah, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Shemayam, Wa'aratazah, Ayathan, Lamawat, Wagalka, Ayanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashan, Shawamar, Yasha Allah, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al Yah, Yaminka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'ah, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Ra, Yashamar, Athnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza'afka, Waba, Wa'aka, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Awalam. In the English, Psalms 121. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yashala shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Psalms 83 in Hebrew. Alahayo, Adama Yalaka, Alta Karash, Wa Alta Shakwat, Al Kayahana, Awa Yabika, Yahamaya 1, Ra'ash, Al Amaka, Yara Yamwa, Sawada, Waitha, Ya Aitazawa, Atazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakakidam, Wagauya, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yasha'ala, Yahawah, Kaya, Nawa Aitazawa, Laba, Yakadwa, Auyaka, Baryat, Yakarathwa, Ahawya, Adawam, Wayashama Aliyah, Mawa'aba, Wahagarya, Gabal, Wa'ima 1, Wa'ima Lak, Palasha, Anya Shabia, Gama Shawar, Malawa, Imam, Hayawa, Zarwai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Aishalaham, Kamadyan, Kasaya, Sar'a, Kayabyan, Manakal, Kwayashwan, Nashamadwa, Ba'ayan, Da'ara, Ayawa, Daman, La'adama, Shathamwa, Nada, Yamawa, Ka'ira, Wakaza Abba, Wakaza Bak, Wakatazal, Mana'ai, Kal, Nasai Kamwa, Ashar, Amarwa, Narusha, Lanawa, Ath, Na'awath, Alahayo, Alahayo, Shathamwa, Kagalgala, Kakwash, Lapanya Raka, Ka'ash, Taba'ira, Ya'ira, Wakala Haba, Talahat, Haryam, Khan, Tharadapma, Basa Irika, Wabasa, Wapathka, Thawahalam, Mala'a, Panyaham, Kwalawan, Wayabakwashwa, Shamka, Yahawah, Yabashwa, Wayabahawa, Adya'ai, Wayakaparwa, Wayabadwa, Wayadaiwa, Kaya Atha, Shamka, Yahawah, Labika, Ayuwan, Wakal. It's like a hot rock. All right. In the English, Psalms 83. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yasha'Allah maybe no more remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Agarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asor also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah, do unto them as unto the Midianites. As to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kisan, which perished that endured. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like a red, and like Zeel, yea, all their princes as Abba, and as Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. Oh my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded in trouble forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high of all the earth. The blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatha Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wa Ma'aka Allah, wa Alahayim, wa Tazav Ya'ah, Allah Wap Yahana, the Wapia, Asaranya, Hakatazayanyo, Hakaya Yaya, wa Wathi, Yahweh, wa Shem Yahweh Shai, wa Raman. In the English. Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, Commanding General Yohanan, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. All right. Sorry, while you're shouting, you will be seated. Any brothers want to get anointed, you can step up. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to say these prayers. Y'all know the drill. Point till you say your name and do that 3 times, all right? Yabaraka Yahweh, Wayashamarka, Ya'ar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Ayaka, Wayakanka, Yasha'ar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Ayaka, Wayashamlaka, Shalom, Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Barak, Rapah, Magan, Hagan,
Kabatamat.
Kabatamat,
Kabatamat.
Kabatamat,
Kabatamat.
Kabatamat, Shai, 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 Kazak, 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 Shem Yahweh Shai, the Wadamat. Clap it up. All right, we're just saying the English words. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless, heal, shield, protect, Kabatamat, Kazak, and Shai. All right. Any sisters want to be anointed, you can step up. Get that one. She definitely needs it. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to go ahead and say these prayers. Yabaraka Yahweh, Wa Shamarka, Ya'ar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Ayaka, Wa Kanka, Yasha'ar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Ayaka, Wa Shamlaka, Shalom, Yahweh, Wa Shem Yahweh Shai, Barak, Rapah, Magan, Hagan, Amawana, 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 Takuya, 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 Judea, 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 Wa Shem Yahweh Shai, the water month, clap it up for the sisters. All right, once again, what we just said in the English words, Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless, heal, shield, protect. Now, Takuya, and Judea. All right. With that being said, men of Israel, Majim, which means to stand. Majim Shabbat, Majim, Barak, Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Barakatham. Sorry towards the sisters. Sisters are Majim, which means to stand. We give the sisters a courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Majim, Majim Shabbat, Majim, Barak, Yahweh Shemar, Lathan, Bashem Yahweh Shai, Yajum Matah. Sabbath service is dismissed.